Welcome to the Spirit of Speed. We're going to have an interview now about this 20 horsepower. So if you could just tell me about the car, if that's okay.
Right, so it's built in 1926. The original model 20 horsepower was about 1922 was the earliest, but this is the first one when they had four-wheel brakes and a right-hand gear change. So a little bit more sophisticated.
Is this your personal car?
It is my personal car,
okay.
yes indeed. It's one of those cars that's never had to be completely restored. It's been so well looked after down the years, and it even has the original upholstery, which is very unusual for an open car because you can so easily accidentally leave out in the rain, and usually the upper interior suffers, but this has survived and is still usable.
And how long have you had the car for?
I've only had it for 4 years, but I've known it for 50.
Right, oh blimey,
Yeah, the last two owners had it for a long time each, and I knew them all very well.
Right, okay.
So I've grown up with it to a degree. Yeah, so very, very fortunate that the previous owner wanted to sell, and here it is.
Is this a specific model you was after, or is it?
Not necessarily, but I like all cars of this era.
And what do you think to the pack? Because 20s were renowned for being slightly underpowered.
They're not the quickest cars in the world. They're very sweet running. They're not like, say, a 3-litre Bentley, which is a very different animal.
Yes.
They're very sweet, but they were never quick in their day.
Is it quite a heavy body, would you say? Or
this is medium. Most tourer bodies, of course, are very light, which is why people had tourers, to keep the weight down. But this one, you've added up the toolboxes and all the extras, and the screen and everything else. It is all weight, so it's coming up probably nearly the weight of a saloon.
And do you tour much in it? Or?
We get out and about in it, yes. It's come from London to be here, of course, and we're usually cruising at about no more than 50 miles an hour.
Oh, okay. And do you regularly use the car as such? Or?
Oh yes, it's out and about. Yeah.
Oh, that's brilliant.
You have to use them regularly, otherwise then they will give trouble. You must exercise them, it's very important.
And do you do all the servicing, maintenance yourself?
Oh yes, I try and do as much as I can myself. Almost 100%, let me say.
Okay. You don't mind rolling up your sleeves and getting in there as such?
No, this is all part of it. So and these are quite labour intensive.
Right.
The later ones had a chassis lubrication system. This one has dozens of oil nipples, and you're doing that frequently,
so
all the time.
The early ones had a one-shot system or something?
The later ones had the one-shot. This is the early one where each joint has an oil nipple, using oil, not grease.
Right.
So, of course, it's passing through quickly, but the Rolls-Royce always considered their oil was best.
Right, okay.
And you're doing that all the time.
So I've noticed here you've got the arrangement for the drop in the headlights.
That's right. The Coachwork is by Barker, and this setup was a Barker patent.
Oh, was it?
They sometimes fitted it to other cars, but it's a specific Barker patent. Not only does the headlamps go up and down with a large lever, but they also turn in as well with a cam at the back. And in fact, you can actually turn the cam over and it will turn out for the continent. So it was very cleverly done, but of course it's a complicated and quite a heavy mechanism. And later on they invented a double filament bulb, which does slightly easier, but it does work. And of course they're infinitely variable. It's not just up or down, you get any in between as well.
Could you give us a demonstration?
I certainly can.
Is that okay? That's fantastic. I didn't realise that Hooper had actually sort of designed that arrangement.
Yes, this is made the label.
Wow. Because I've seen that on other cars. I've never realised that it was their invention.
Oh yes. Sometimes these discs are called Barker discs because I'm not saying they invented them, but they had their own particular style.
Right. Okay.
Others use it because it's a wire wheel underneath, of course. And the disc is just over it, but that again they're called Barker discs. Very well-renowned coach builder in their day. They tended to make bodies a little on the heavy side, using a lot more timber than others, which mean they lasted, but there is weight.
And the 20, the arrangement of the slats going horizontal, that's
a typical 20 feature. It's in around about 1929 they then put the horizontal slats and then a slightly taller rail. Look arguably more important.
Right, okay.
But the 20s always had them across like that.
That's what he wanted to do, Royce wanted to do, was it?
Yes.
To define between the models, was it?
I think that's so, yes,
right.
That's so. That's going to be like that. And the slats here, which are very important to open for cooling, you do manually.
Right,
lever on the dashboard, where of course the later...
They're not on a stack as such?
The later ones have a thermostat.
Right,
they open the slats automatically.
Okay.
So you have to check that as you're driving along and maybe adjust to the conditions to keep your temperature constant.
Right. Well, here's a question for you, right? The arrangement of the red detailing on the Rolls-Royce badge. Now, everybody wants to know about this because they always said after Royce's death it went to black. Now, is that true or is that not?
It's part fable. It did happen at the same time.
Right,
1933. And it's one of those lovely stories.
Yes.
I think the true practical reason is that many people found that the red didn't clash. They clashed with some colours of Coachwork. And therefore they tend to think that black was more sensible. Right. But there's lovely myths and stories about Rolls-Royce. And that could be one of them, could not.
Right,
Nobody's ever been able to prove it. But it's a lovely story.
Yeah.
But yes, so it's pre-33, pre-32 with the red badge. Okay. The Ghost has the red badge as well, of course.
And could you tell us about the Ghost at all?
A little bit about the Ghost, yes. I'm not. I don't know the car extremely well. I know the body is by Fluid, but a very, very interesting car, as you can see. And the owner has owned this car for 60 years.
Really?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
And this is a rarity about the lifted Spirit of Ecstasy. Now, what's that about? If you could tell us.
It's the Alpine.
Right.
The original 1913 Alpine car, which became famous for winning the Alpine Rally, used that because it found it didn't lose water on a high pass and the heating.
So it had a purpose.
It had a purpose.
Right. So allowed for expansion.
That's right. It allowed for a little bit of extra expansion because the car was obviously being hard driven. Yeah. And here the owner has put one on his own car himself. This has just come back from Switzerland.
Oh, really?
So it all makes good sense.
Right.
It all makes good sense. Yeah.
It must be a nightmare polishing the aluminium.
They're very labour intensive. they certainly are. And if you're going to produce it in this condition, then it is very labour intensive. Right. You've got to be at it all the time.
Right. And is this known as an underslung?
No, it's. I know exactly what you mean, but this is not. This is slightly later. Than that, yeah. Right. But as I say, I'm not an expert on this car.
Okay. And what is this one?
This is Silver Ghost. It's 1919.
1919. Yeah. Right. Okay. And is it four-wheel brakes or only rear?
This is no front-wheel brakes.
Right.
It's around about 1923, 24.
It was a bit later.
Four-wheel brakes. Yes.
Okay.
Sometimes they were retrofitted, but this just hasn't got them. So you have to drive thinking ahead.
Right. And the Alpine Rally as such, how many cars went on that?
I think it was 3.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
And this was one of...
Oh, no, this wasn't one of them. No, this wasn't one of them. This is built later.
Okay.
Yes, it's built later, But I think it's just copying that mascot. It's good fun.
Well, thank you for your interview and tell us about the cars, and I really appreciate that. Thank you very much.